You're watching DCTV Denton Community Television.
Follow your dreams, and they say, do what you want.
Hi everyone, thanks for watching. I appreciate you watching and hope you've been having a great day, and I'm glad to have Jake here today with me.
Oh, glad to be here.
Thank you for coming, and you've created Denton Radio for us, and you've really been doing a lot of work the last few years.
A little bit. It's been a labor of love. Well, we'll say that. But there's nothing else in the world I'd rather be doing. It's been a whole lot of fun.
You've had several versions of it, haven't you? Since
Oh yeah. We've had bad version 1, bad version 2. Okay version 3, and then and now we're finally on a version that we're liking. So it's been good. It's been really good.
I don't know how you ever figured all that out. When you first told me a couple of years ago you were going to create a radio station, internet radio station, I thought, God.
Yeah, yeah.
You're pretty smart.
I think a lot of people thought the same thing, and I don't know if it was so much smart as in too stupid to know not to do it. But it's been a lot of research in finding, what kind of technology pieces do we need, what kind of music pieces and legal pieces and licensing pieces and marketing pieces, and kind of assembling the right teams to put all that together. But the Denton community has been amazing. We've had tons of organizations volunteer their time, and first 2 versions of our website, and I said they weren't good. They were really good. But the first 2 versions were done for free for us by an organization called Square 205, and they still host the current website. And a lot of people really stepped forward and wanted to pour into what we were doing. So it was more of us just getting out of the way and let them do their thing. And it was great.
Technical part,
It was really great.
Yeah. Well, I thought it worked well from day one. When you put the songs out, whatever, like a list of who's going to play and all that.
Yeah, there's been several different versions of stuff that we've tried to do, but it all kind of centered around the idea of a lot of online radio stations or radio stations that have a website. You go to them, and I can't find the music. There's lots of information and all sorts of stuff, but I've got to search for it. And so we said we want a simple website that just plays music, and so from the very first version, there really weren't any bells and whistles or anything. It just had music on there so that you knew what you were getting into when you went there.
You have a couple of channels on there, don't you?
Oh yeah. Now, currently we've broken it down into 5 genres. Some folks, are looking for some more energy, and some folks are looking for something maybe a little more old school or easy listening or whatever. And so we wanted them to be able to kind of tailor fit their DentonRadio.com experience.
Yeah.
There's some hip hop on there. There's some pretty heavy rock. There's some very easy things. And so what we were seeing was people would tune in, and it would be a song that they loved, or maybe it wouldn't be a song that they loved, but they were forced to listen to the whole shebang. And so we said, let's break it down. And so that right now there's a main channel that's got a mix of just about everything. And if something's too goofy to try and figure out where to put it, we just put it in the main channel. And then there's Americana, which is your country, bluegrass, folk, kind of classic rock sort of stuff. Then there's Rock Out, which is not so much rock and roll, but really like high energy, a little more youthful, I guess I could say. And then Easy Listening, and then Girl Power. And Girl Power is nothing but female vocalists. And there's a lot of them out there, and they're all pretty out of this world good. And so that genre kind of goes all over the place, but it's all female folks. So.
And we were just talking about a show that with a couple of the female singers here recently.
Oh, yeah, that was a really... Yeah, we were just talking about the Kayla show that went on recently over at Banter. Really talented folks. There was Michaela Kahn, Karina Michaela, and I believe her name's Kayla Brasher. And we got to see this amazing incredible Kayla show. Apparently Kayla is Latin for incredibly, incredibly talented, or something, because it's just, it was this amazing, amazing show of female vocalists that just blew the roof off of the whole place. It made you cry, it made you laugh, it made you do whatever.
Where was that?
Oh, that was over at Banter, and that
Banter.
wasn't one of ours. We were scouting that night looking for folks, and that's where we met Michaela Kahn, and we'd known Karina Michaela for a long time. But we got Michaela Kahn, and she's been a dream. You know, when we go to organizations and such, and they go, okay, so what does Denton Radio have? We just throw on Michaela Kahn and just let them listen to her, and that usually solidifies it pretty quick. She's pretty out of this world, and as are most of the people on DentonRadio.com. So it's been really good.
Well, one of the really great services you guys provide, if an artist contacts you and has music, then you will have a link, that person's name on there, and then people can go to their Reverb Nation or whatever.
Yeah. Every artist gets a profile page.
Yeah.
And so it's got, you know, their picture, their bio, links to all their social media. And what we've started doing that's kind of new is if they have a Bandcamp account, we're able to embed their music into their profile page so that you can listen to all of their songs. And if you really wanted to, you could purchase them as well right through that site. And we don't take any money for that. That all goes to the musicians, and that's something a little extra we wanted to try and get out there for the music, for the,
That's
the
great.
musicians.
That's a great service for the
Yeah,
artist.
we were hoping so. It was good.
And somebody anywhere in the world could just look out there and just pick some artists and get to hear their music. And
I mean, that's been the goal. Is we've partnered with the Convention and Visitors Bureau for Denton in January, because originally, I mean, Denton Radio was all about showing the rest of Denton what they might be missing in their own backyard. The Convention and Visitors Bureau saw it and said, well, shoot, this is a great way for us to market Denton to the whole rest of the world. Because anybody in the world can pull it up. So if they say to somebody, hey, you should come vacation in Denton, or you should come check out Denton, we've got really great music here. Before they said, well, prove it. You know, now they're able to just show them DentonRadio.com, and they can get a feel for what's going to happen if they come to Denton. So it's been really good.
That's great. That was in January when that affiliation
Yeah, that
took place.
affiliation took place, and so I office out of the Chamber of Commerce building with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and it's been really, really fun. We've been enjoying it a whole lot. That's
really good. I listened to this presentation you guys had on the radio a couple of weeks ago. You went over some 6 points. Are those fresh on your mind? Something that you were wanting to share with everybody?
Which points?
I didn't mean to throw you a curve.
No, you're fine. Curves are good. Was it for marketing? Was
that might have been
it?
Yeah, your marketing campaign
Oh,
day
that's
or
right.
something.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, that was. I think if I remember what we're talking about, that was for our artist gathering, and
Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon.
Yeah,
that program.
yeah. We had gathered all of our musicians together in one room, and the ones who were out of town, like we had some touring in China and doing some things like
Really?
that, and so yeah, it was really cool. But you know, if they weren't able to be there, we wanted to have a video feed for them to be able to partake in. And so I'm trying to remember exactly what the points were. One of the things that we talked about, though, was marketing. There's never been a better time to be an indie musician ever in the world. Because prior to now, the only way to connect with enough people to make a career out of your music was to get a record deal, so that the record label could put you in the studio and then get you on the radio and do those kinds of things. Now, because of the internet, any musician can connect with anybody, anywhere, if they can get their stuff out there. So some of the points that we were just giving to people were, if you want to be part of this digital revolution, you need to go digital. You need to get your music out there and everywhere. And then I think one of the major points, I don't have all of them with me right now, but one of the major points was you need to create connections with people. There's got to be, it's got to be more than just, oh, that's a cool song. They need to know your story. They need to know who you are, and they need to feel like they can connect with what you're doing. And if you can create moments like that, that's when you really start to build that really dedicated fan base, because they get the opportunity to know you.
Yeah, I believe that for sure. That's kind of the concept I had with this show, just to bring people on and let them tell a little about their lives and their history and what their goals are, things like that, and then play some music kind of in an unplugged situation. but I have been fortunate to have some really good guests. And,
Oh, yes, you have.
and maybe I can get some guests from you guys, and
Of course.
vice versa. But
Fun.
some of the folks that have been working with you, Bone Doggy, he's been highly instrumental with Denton Radio and Pat York.
Oh yeah, yeah. We people ask us, who's your team, and typically I'll say, just look at Denton. That's our team. We just got tons of volunteers, tons of community partners, tons of organizations that have teamed up with us, satellite employees and interns, and it's this huge community effort. But as far as our core team goes, it's myself, Bone Doggy, and Pat York. I'm more the executive side. Bone Doggy is more the music side, and then Pat's more the sales and marketing side. And so it started with me and Bone Doggy, and then we brought on Pat York as the need presented itself. However, Pat was kind of in the background from the beginning.
Really?
Kind of going, hey, you shouldn't do that, or hey, you should do this over here, or oh no, that's dumb. You need to go do this. And he was always there. We just never
He has a lot
really
of
clicked.
rodeo marketing experience.
Oh
over the
yeah,
years.
I mean he'd been doing huge marketing promotions with gigantic companies for years and years and years, and we never thought we would actually get him. And then he called me one day and said, "Hey, I've been thinking about it. Let's give it a shot." And I was like, "Really?" And he had wanted to stay close because of his kids, and he's retired, so it's not it's more about fun for him. So we're like, yes, yeah. And so he's been a huge asset that we've loved having around.
And he's quite the singer-songwriter. He's won some, Love and War competition, or came in second or something?
I think so. I think that was with the Kerry Davis Jr. Band. He plays with a bunch of different
A lot
groups
of people,
and gets around quite a lot because he's quite a talented musician.
Yes, he really is.
He's done pretty well for himself, so it's been good.
And Bone Doggy and his group, they played at the Jazz Fest at 9 o'clock, I think.
Yeah. He plays Jazz Fest just about every year, I think, for the last 5-7 years, something like that. And
He's a six-piece. It's a six-piece band, the Hellraisers.
it constantly changes. Right now, I think he's got bass, guitar, trombone, drums, and then himself on vocals and bouzouki. And then whoever else he can grab at the at the time. He grabs a lot of stuff that kind of comes and goes, but he's always had a good-sized band, which is impressive.
They have trombone, you mentioned, I think.
Yeah.
Ghost is a good guitar player. I like the way he plays.
Yeah, he is. And
Good
Abby,
singer.
the trombone player, she's been with him forever. Is his right-hand man. Even though she's a girl, but she's been really, really great to him for a long time, and she's told me on several occasions, if you ever mess over Bone Doggy, I'll kill you. Not that I ever would, but now I know that I certainly can't. So she's a very dedicated Hellraiser. So.
His son Carrick plays bass usually.
Yeah, he did for a long time, and. He actually had a son recently.
Really?
Jax, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So with his job and his wife and his son and everything, he took a little bit of a step back from the band, and so Bone Doggy has found a new guy named Greg Beach. Bone Doggy calls him Thumper, and he's jumped in and done some bass with them, and he actually was a comedian. I think that's how they met each other.
Really? And
then Bone Doggy found out that he played bass, and he was like, "Do you want to play with the Hellraisers?" And he was like, "Yes, I do." At least that's the story I was told. And so he's done really well from that point on. At Jazz Fest, he actually proposed to his now fiance in the middle of their set.
Really?
It was a really, really cool additive. Bone Doggy's always got to add something special into his set, especially at Jazz Fest. And so they had been talking about him wanting to propose, and I think he brought the idea to Bone Doggy and said, "Hey, I want to propose during the set." And Bone Doggy was like, "Yeah, let's do that." It was a very cool effect. It was really good. Everybody in the crowd was going, "Oh my gosh, I hope she says yes. Please say yes. Please say." And she did. So it went well.
She was in the audience?
Yeah, he called her up on stage, and she didn't know it was happening.
Really?
Now
that's the new bass player?
Yeah,
Really?
That's the brand new bass player, and he went down on one knee and said, "Will you marry?" And she was like, Yes, and then they played their favorite song, and then it got really gross. But it was, but it was great. It was a good show.
I didn't realize all that was going on. I saw the first part of the show. They are really good. They have good sound.
Yeah, very talented.
I went to J&J's over the weekend, saw Caleb Coonrod and Richard Gilbert
Yep.
played, and Sam Bass
Yeah.
had a CD release.
Yeah, Richard Gilbert was actually the very first musician who had ever signed up with Denton Radio.
Oh, really?
Ever. He the first one that ever registered. And then Caleb is Mr. Reliable. He's come to us a million times and said, if you guys have a gig and I'm not it's in class, I'm there.
Oh, really?
Because his boss has told him, you want to do music, I liked how dedicated you are. If you need to leave, just leave. So anytime which, a lot of the time when you're doing a gig, somebody doesn't show.
Yeah.
And so we're able to call Caleb every time, and he always
great.
pops up, and he puts on a great show.
He does. I love his
We
sound.
love having him around. Yeah.
Really good singing voice.
Yeah.
Good
and
player.
Sam's really making a name for himself too,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the tunes of his new album. He
Yeah.
showcased that that night, and
We need to get Coonrod at an album, darn it. But
yeah, for sure.
he's actually been doing a project called Remain, and been putting it. And I think that's what he's waiting on, is to get a big band called the Remain. And he's created Remain about 3 or 4 different times. And it starts, and then it kind of goes away, and it starts, and a band doesn't stick together forever.
Yeah.
But the name has remained, so that's why I think that's why he calls it Remain, is because
Yeah.
it's still Remain, but it's always different people. But so he's been working on that, and that's a good show. If you ever get to see anything that says Remain, that's something to watch.
Some of those guys are from the UNT Jazz Department, aren't they?
Yeah. This last group that he had were from UNT Jazz, and I don't really know all the details. I think that Remain has now fizzled again because of summertime, and everybody
Yeah.
kind of goes and does their own thing. But Caleb Coonrod still puts on a great show, and every now and then we'll gather up a bunch of people and do a little jam with Denton Radio folks, and we always have Caleb there, and we call that the Offenders, and that was a Pat York thing. He said, we're the offenders. Hopefully by the end of the night we're not the defendants, and that's his little shtick. But we always make sure we have Caleb with us if we're doing anything like that, so that's really fun.
And during NX35, you guys set up on the stage and had a show going on there.
Yeah, that was actually really fun. We had met with Kyle, who was running 35 Denton. And this was right when we were joining with the Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Really? Yeah.
And myself and Kim Phillips, who runs the CVB, or is vice president of the CVB, we met with Kyle, and I had pitched, how do you feel about an all-local stage? Now, 35 Denton is getting more and more local, and actually had quite a bit, but we said, we want to do something that is all local, just all Denton. And because they've got a bunch of sponsors tied in and all this stuff with their stages, they were like, well, I don't know if we can do that in the gates, but if y'all want to do an all-local stage outside of the gates, we would support that 100%. And so we had gotten together with the Denton County Historical Commission and a lot of those groups and put together this kind of crazy Frankenstein's monster of organizations that all poured into this stage on the square. And so we were able to have 41 acts in 4 days.
That's great.
And it was really, really fun.
You're starting at about noon, and then just went all day until night.
Yeah, just about all day with every group. And we had folks that were really talented that nobody knew, like say Jess Dixon, and then really big groups like Brave Combo. And all those guys all came out. We had Mr. Joe out there, and
I heard Mr. Joe last night on Denton Radio.
Oh yeah. I love having him around. We just had him play a set for us at Hoochie's the other day, and it's rare to see Mr. Joe play like a full hour set. At least for me, I haven't seen it very much. And so we had him play a full hour at Hoochie's Oyster House the other day, and oh my gosh, Caleb Coonrod was there, and he turns to me and he goes, "Man, I cannot wait to get to the point where I just don't care what anybody thinks. I'm going to sing what I want to sing." And it was a great show. It was awesome. It was really, really fun.
Now, he does that Tuesday deal at Banter, too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
His Dixieland Band?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
And then the Not Too Hot Club.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah.
Don't they generally perform on the same night?
Something like that.
Mr. Joe's band opens, I think, and then they play the latter
Something
part.
like that. I mean, I see, Mr. Joe's banner in the window every now and then.
Yeah,
and
first
that's-
Tuesday, something like that. I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
something like that.
Yeah.
And then of course he always opens up Banter's open mic and that deal, and yeah, he's quite the local legend.
Yeah.
And he's a real good guy. Hopefully his retirement sticks this time. He's retired, then he wasn't retired, and then he's retired, then he wasn't. And now he's retired again, but I don't know if that's going to stick. But that's
Been a music therapist at TWU.
Yeah.
For many years. Yeah. Teaches that. Yeah. Yeah. We were talking earlier about some of the. I wanted to ask about soul tax.
Oh, Soul Tax. What specifically about Soul Tax?
Well, just some of the bands that have caught your eye and that you hope to see things happen for in the future.
Soul Tax has been phenomenal, and behind closed doors, I always call Soul Tax common denominator instead of just Soul Tax. Because anytime we get a phone call or an email or a text from somebody that says, I just heard this new band on Denton radio, I've come for the first time, this band was incredible, it's always Soul Tax. Now they'll talk about other bands too, but the common denominator every time is Soul Tax.
Really?
Yeah, and it got to the point in the beginning we got some calls from some other musicians saying, okay, all you're playing is Soul Tax now. You need some more. And we were, because that's what everybody wanted.
Yeah.
And so we had to spread it out a little bit. But they were a three-piece for quite a while. They've just now added a bass. Well, quite a few months ago, so not just now, but he's the newbie of the group, and that group has been phenomenal. Twilight Tunes is going to finish up this year with Soul Tax.
Really?
On July 4th, they're going to do, I think it's 12:30 to 2, and Soul Tax is going to be the big show for that. And so we've been telling everybody about that one because that's going to be a great show.
Oh, an afternoon show, 12:30
Yeah,
to 2?
yeah. Instead of doing it in the evening, because everybody else is going to be off barbecuing and doing their deal. So they said, let's do it during the day. And so yeah, Nathan Norman and Sidney Wright and Aaron P. All those guys are really, really sweet folks, very dedicated, incredible musicians all in their own right. Sidney puts on a great show, Nathan puts on a great show, but man, when you put it all together, that just, oh my gosh, the effect is incredible. It's really good. It's a good set.
How would you describe their music, the kind of music that it is?
Oh gosh. It's hard to describe any Denton band.
Yeah.
It's hard to put somebody in a specific genre.
So many different elements.
Yeah, because they'll do anything from covering a Jackson 5 song to writing their own. And there's a pattern with a lot of Soul Tax tunes where it starts kind of slow, and kind of, but it's this good instrumental piece, and then at the end they'll just hit it really hard.
Yeah.
And just get some really good, hey, oh. All those songs have a very different, very eclectic feel. If I was just an outsider looking in, I would just say, okay, it's rock. But if I really dug in, it's probably a bit more eclectic than that. And
So
it would be hard for me to define.
Calypso elements, maybe? Or
Yeah.
jazz element, rock,
Yes,
even some
there
hard
are
rock.
some jazz rocks,
Yeah.
some jazz elements and some rock elements, and it just all feeds together into this really cool jambalaya. I don't. It's a good set. It's just it's hard to define exactly what it is. So I'll just say it's awesome. That's what I'll say.
A good word for sure. Yeah. But there are so many good singer-songwriters and good bands around here. It's just amazing. And
Very much so. Some of the bands that recently have been catching my eye is Gravity Feed.
Okay.
Gravity Feed's an amazing
That's
group.
who was at the Twilight Tunes
Yeah,
Thursday
we had
night.
Twilight Tunes there. And Gravity Feed's kind of, I tell everybody it's kind of funky jazz. And it's a big group of young guys and then a sax player. And the sax player's not as young as the other guys. He's an older dude, and it's kind of all, when I listen to it, I'm just hearing the sax. It's built around that. But you'll get this sax and then electric guitar and keys and drums and the whole. I mean, it's just really, really good time, really accomplished musicians. Michaela Kahn, we were talking about her. She's a phenomenal singer-songwriter, has a great band too, but I mean, she's got a great show either way. So Michaela Kahn's one to look for too. Karina Michaela, Michaela Kahn, Karina Michaela, that she's fantastic. Zach Balch, that's another one to look for. I mean, just really, really good list. We got over 100 musicians right now, and it would be hard for me to pick a favorite out of that whole list. I mean, it's pretty phenomenal. There's a group, Puddintain, who puts on a great show. Tons of energy and tons of great musicianship. Let's see. One of the ones we've been talking about with recently, trying to get linked up with and will be is Aphrodisiacs, and they're kind of up and coming. And
I've seen their name at Boiler Room, I think.
yeah. Good group. Goofy, but it's really good. Let's see, who else? The Green Light, if you like. If you kind of like that harder stuff, they got a female drummer, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So that's a cool group. Vegas Star it's very eclectic. Every time I see him play, it's always better. And the first time I saw it, I was like, this is really different. But I liked it. And the more I watched them, the more I got hooked. And it's different. It's very different. But let's see. Ellie Meyer is a good one. Ellie Morris is going to finally come out with her CD, I believe, this month, and that one's going to be one to look for. Kelsey Henry is a good little singer-songwriter. It's certainly on the sweeter side. Like she's filled with candy like a piñata. I mean, you'll get cavities from watching her. She's so sweet, but it's a good show. Oh shoot, Matt Grigsby, of course. That's Richard Gilbert.
And Denton has grown so much in the last 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
It's just amazing.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
just going to continue to grow.
Exactly. Well, I was having this conversation with Pat York just the other day. He was in Denton back when the only thing in town was the Final Exam. That was the only bar, and he was a bartender there. And other than that, it was really it. And so there weren't any venues for these people to get out there. Mm-hmm. And now we've got them all over the place, everywhere from banter, where you've got kind of your newbies who kind of get incubated, all the way to Dan's, where you've got national acts coming and just everything in between. And so now there's just a little bit for everybody to be able to partake in. And more businesses that come in, at least in our experience, are realizing we need to get tied up in this music scene, because this is what everybody's doing, this is where everybody's going, and this is where the energy and the juice is right now. And so they're all kind of tailoring their stuff to allow music, even if that wasn't their original model.
Yeah,
and that's growing more and more venues every day, which is fantastic.
Yeah. What are some of your general goals for the next few years for Denton Radio?
One of our big goals is every musician who registers with DentonRadio.com. They register with, there's a registration form that allows, that gives us permission to not just play them, but to play them in other places, in a restaurant or at a festival or whatever. And so right now, we're at Community Market, the second and fourth Saturday just playing, third Saturday where they're live. DCTA is doing a food truck thing, and we got music there. But we also are doing the music inside of Hoochie's, Denton Square Donuts, Rusty Taco, and we're in the process of talking with some more venues as well to try and get the music played as their soundtrack. And what that does is it relieves that venue from having to pay licensing fees to play the radio, because they normally do, and it's not cheap. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's we like to go to the venue and say, okay, you can play Rihanna and Brad Paisley, and you're gonna have to pay for that, or you can play DentonRadio.com, and you're gonna pay far less, and you're gonna get to play these local guys. And so it allows us to get them not just played on Denton Radio, but played in a lot more places.
That's great. You can go out to eat and hear your local bands right here. Yeah, that's really cool.
That's one of the big immediate goals that we want to work on. the other thing is just technology. I mean, developing technology and making it more readily available. If I've got a moment, there's a cool little news story that's just come out about Google has got this new balloon.
Oh,
and they released this balloon and it provides internet. You know? And I looked at that and I went, yes, finally, because the thing that we've always seen with Denton Radio is the idea is somewhat ahead of the technology in that it's more difficult to have to get out your phone, type in Denton Radio, go to the thing, check your genre, do the whole deal. Whereas FM, you get in your car and you push a button and it's there.
Yeah.
And online radio needs to become that easy, but the technology isn't quite there yet. And it's, you've got all these different devices and it has to sync up and all this different stuff. And so when I saw this Google balloon, I went, that's it. That's it. Because if that can, right now they shoot up the balloon and then it has to go to this receiver that's like the size of a softball. But if the technology progresses the way that I believe that it will, Google's going to be able to provide internet everywhere and it's going to be free. Because when you open up your internet, it's going to take you straight to Google and they're going to data collect, which weirds some people out, and I understand how it is, how it should, but I think it's different in that we know they're doing this and they're sending it to advertisers and that kind of stuff, and it's becoming far more and more accepted with Facebook and Twitter and these kinds of things. And so it'll be free and it'll be everywhere, and so all the device will need is a receiver, and that'll be built within the computer or the phone or the car or whatever, and internet will have a far wider and easier range than FM, AM, TV, any of that stuff. And this is right in the beginning. So my belief is that within 5 to 10 years that will be a reality. And so we've just got to keep chugging along until and spreading that net out. And then once that technology hits, Denton Radio will be this established online radio station that will just be able to spread everywhere because the technology will now be in place. And so that's our real belief. So we're chugging along as best as we could and pedaling like a duck underwater, and going as hard as we can, because I think there's going to be that point where it just all clicks and then it just spreads. So that's our belief and that's our goal, is trying to look at the technology and see where it's going and how it's developing and how to stay on the cusp of it, because we're not technology guys by a long shot, but so we're trying to bring more technology guys into the fold and develop that stuff and keep our eyes open for what's new and what's happening so that we can stay on top of those things.
Well, that sounds great, and you've done a lot of work for the community for sure.
Well, thank you.
And I appreciate you being here very much.
Of course.
Thanks for sharing so much with us.
Of course, I appreciate it. I apologize for rambling, but it's exciting stuff. It's fun. But, all right, well, thank you so much for having me, Mike. I appreciate it.
All right.
Follow your dreams, and they say, do what you want, and money will come. Lots of people have lots of dreams. Lots of people, it seems, when they are young, they look to the sky, they work harder,